Welcome back for another exclusive interview by JT Media. In today's interview, we host Benedetto Biondi, the CEO of Forex Finance. Forex Finance is the leading capital markets decentralized application on Algorand. It's got the highest TVL, it has the most liquidity on Algorand. It's one of the best platforms I've used across all of DeFi, and Benedetto is a DeFi genius. So we're really excited to have him back on the program, excited to learn all about Forex Finance, excited to learn about his thoughts on the crypto market more broadly, and what is in the future for them, their project, and the rest of us. So be sure to subscribe. Be sure to check out the description down below for ways to support the channel. Hit the like button if you enjoy the conversation. And now, friends, here's my conversation with Benedetto Biondi, the CEO of Forex Finance.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We've had Benedetto on the show before, so really excited to have him back on. There's been a lot of changes, both for Forex Finance and the Algorand ecosystem, and I guess crypto more broadly. So really excited to have this conversation. Algorand's at what, 22 cents at the point of having this conversation. Sentiment is changing. It does look like things are, back to the good side of the crypto market. But what do you think, Benedetto?
It's a good day, JT, and it's a good day to be back on the show. Honestly, I missed you.
Oh man, well we missed you too. Of course, we had you over at the Next Block, but it is nice to be back on my own personal show. I feel like it's just a nice place to learn more about these projects, and I think we should kind of dive into. There's been a theme going on recently, especially with this new bull market, which I think is much more sustainable than the theme of the last bull market, and that's the theme of real-world assets. Before, the last bull market was purely fueled by DeFi speculation and things of the sort, but now Forex Finance is adding meld gold, it's adding silver. I'm having a conversation with Michael Carpentier from Vesta Equity about real-world assets in the future. It just kind of seems like it's a theme that has come to the fruition of the crypto market that really should have came maybe a couple years ago, but we're excited that it's here now. I want to get your thoughts on it. Are there any other real-world assets coming to Forex Finance aside from gold and silver? I'll leave it there, and then I'll ask more questions on that.
First of all, I always thought that real-world assets, together with other needed part of improvements over DeFi,
Absolutely,
it's what we need for the mass adoption. So I always think today we will always use DeFi for crypto, right? It's mostly crypto trading, or I can use Forex to my algo as collateral to borrow USDC. Is not going out of our bubble, right? So instead than waiting for crypto to be of mass adoption, we need to bring real world assets in the blockchain, in DeFi, in order to be able to then onboard users that are not interested just in crypto. So I strongly believe that in the next bull run, real world assets will be a big narrative, because there are protocols that have been building during the last years, and now they are ready to show their potential. And those are when they are pluggable, let's say, as we did with Melt Gold and Forex Finance in DeFi, then it's really powerful, because you are able to converge towards like traditional finance and decentralized finance that getting together, it's very, very beautiful. It's like you are giving utilities to something that before didn't had different purposes, like it's crypto. Now we are using metals, of course tokenized, but still metals are not an easy thing. It's not that it's difficult, but buying it on the traditional market is more fictional, right? Being able to use it on DeFi, it's beautiful. Like it's pure.
It's quick. It's seamless. Freedom. It's relatively permissionless. Of course, there's some real world asset platforms that you will have to KYC with, but that's of course going to be the case in the future. But not only is it going to be, in my opinion, the theme of the next bull run, I think it could bring forth levels of liquidity that the crypto market hasn't seen yet, because it's been purely based on crypto speculation at this point, where with the real world asset markets, I mean, if we start tokenizing a bunch of homes like Lofty is or Vesta Equity is at a scale that maybe tenfold at what they're doing now, or more gold silver comes on, or maybe Forex Finance in the future is working with some security market tokens to securitize bonds and bring those onto the platform or something of the like. I think the sky is the limit. I think people are really underestimating the role real world assets will play in bringing liquidity into this space.
I totally agree, JT. And also, we need to be thinking that you can tokenize a lot of things. You can tokenize debt, you can tokenize treasuries, anything basically. Of course, anything, but not everything makes sense.
Yes.
But we will see a lot of use cases of tokenized asset going. I don't know whether they will go directly into DeFi. I also believe that at some point, DeFi, when regulation are going to be proper, outlined, we will be adapting, and we will be able to work more with assets that can be considered securities or regulated assets. But of course, for this, you need compliance. You cannot do it everything permissionless. But I believe that the world will be always in a conversion that will bring to have fintech based on smart contracts. That is my view, and that's where we want to bring folks, of course. But meanwhile, of course, we are on a permissionless protocol. So as soon as there are permissionless assets like gold and silver from MELD, we were very happy to integrate it as much as we see in the market trading. And indeed, you asked also like what we want to do in the future. Of course, we pointed out the NFT lending. It was a while ago now, almost 6 months ago, for the xGov grants. But I mean, like, if we start to make more revenue, we don't need the grant, we can build ourselves, right? So we have a lot in the pipeline. We still have pivoted the building. We haven't started yet, honestly. We're still doing research and improving the paper. But it is in our target to build the NFT as a collateral that will involve also, as you know, their WA. So we are very much looking forward to this, and we believe that Algorand has demonstrated to be a very good base for those type of assets. So we want to bet on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, do you think you're going to go, try again for a governance grant for that NFT platform? You know that I was a supporter of that concept. I think, as we were talking about at the start of this conversation, real world assets are going to be the next big thing in crypto. And when people hear NFT, I don't think their brains immediately think of real world assets. They just think of other NFT lending platforms. And because it was the depths of a bear market, I could see the rationale for people not wanting to vote for it. But as we approach, the bull market and prices are going up, there might be more wiggle room in people's opinions to not only see the need for these real world asset tools being created, but also have a desire to vote for them because the algo is going farther now than it did then. Is there anything in your mind to try that again?
Honestly, Forex keeps growing, and and the revenue is good. We could potentially do it on our own.
Makes sense.
It's if we see that is something that we want, why not? We have a lot of things in the mind, like pivoting the product development. It's probably one of the most difficult parts that you have in such type of startup, but it is there. We haven't left it. That's important to know. Maybe we can ask a smaller part this time because actually, at least if xALGO goes up in price, there will be no need of asking. Last time we asked almost 50% of the total batch, and then we had 60% of xGovs not voting. So it was impossible to pass by numbers, but that wasn't honestly also our fault. Nevertheless, I believe that we got the largest amount of votes anyway, though, so that was fantastic and demonstrated that actually users wanted it. So yeah, I think there might be that maybe we will ask for a percentage of it. Like if algo goes good in price, Fox goes good. So
right.
We may want to leave this part towards the grants towards smaller projects that may need more than us, of course.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I mean, Folks Finance, just obviously congratulations. I should have mentioned this at the top, but just hit a record high TVL. I believe it's at 152 million the last time I looked at it. Before this conversation. And as you mentioned, that's Algorand with 22 cents. So, if we get anywhere close to even maybe a third of the way to all-time high, I mean, that's going to be quite the TVL for Folks Finance.
The next target is 1 billion.
The next target should be 1 billion. I'm excited to see it. I think you'll get there. Absolutely. I think you'll get there. I think Folks Finance will, eventually solidify one of its spot as a top 10 DeFi platform in all of crypto. It's top 1 in Algorand. I think it'll be top 10, maybe even top 5. But I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but because I know that's music to your ears. But
yeah. Let's see. We always work for that. Then if it happens, good. If it doesn't happen, we will work more.
Absolutely. I mean, if it's anything, you guys have been working probably the hardest for out of any of the DeFi platforms that I keep track of. But I want to move the conversation a little bit from real world assets, although it is still sort of a real world asset, to currencies. Folks Finance just added Euro. It just partnered with Stasis to add the Euro token. Are there any other currencies that are going to come on board? Because I've always thought that Algorand would be a great place to not only capture commodity tokens, but also capture like the Forex market. It's a great cheap place for trades. I think it would be fantastic to be able to trade in and out of the dollar, in and out of euros, in and out of yen, any other currency that you think you'd want to hold at that moment of time. I think it would be fantastic to be able to do those trades on Algorand. So is there any news there by any chance?
News to announce, not really. And like we all know about the Quantos deployment, it is more, let's say, a little more permissioned. But we already spoke with the team. We are looking to find a way to integrate in the entire ecosystem, not just for us. Because, for example, even when we worked with Stasis, let's say we were the entry point, and then we spread the connection with the rest of the ecosystem in order to be used right. And I can tell that the team is doing a good work there, and we are happy for that. Regarding other currencies, I would love that. Personally, I can tell you that the foundation works on it, and we also collaborate with them, not just about Euro, but also other currencies. And I agree with you, JT. Like Algorand, it's perfectly positioned for be the chain of currencies, stablecoin. For certain reason, I'm even angry that it didn't peak like this so much between centralized exchanges to have USDC on Algo, because I mean, let's be honest, it's much better than many other places that are supported right now. But nevertheless, like never lose the hope, always keep working. So nothing to announce, but yes, there is this target in the timeline, not just from us, but also from the Algorand Foundation.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, it's one of those things that it seems like a perfect product fit. So it's curious why there hasn't been a greater effort in previous times for that to be the case. But I also, let's move the conversation a little bit, because Folks Finance has teamed up with, I believe, Wormhole Crypto and other bridges to bring a lot of different wrapped tokens on chain. So there's wrapped Avalanche, there's wrapped Sol, ChainLink, there's wrapped Maple token, which I'm actually unaware of Maple token, so I have to look into that a little bit more. Also has Opulus, which is not a wrapped token, but is an additional token that is available on the Folks Finance platform. Are there any other wrapped tokens or even Algorand ecosystem tokens that Folks Finance plans to add to their lending market?
I'm not aware right now what the team is studying. Like we have an economic team that always does this research. Also, we listen what the community wants. But yes, of course, like we always want to bring a new token. The idea that we have been following more or less in the past governance periods, it was, let's look at top coin market cap ranked assets, and then we go through it, right? So. Of course, we have major chains like Avalanche, Solana, ChainLink, which is a great project. Maple was a little different. Like the dynamic for the listing was more of a collaboration between the protocol. It's also a lending protocol, but under collateralized, and it's permissioned, so it's slightly different. But nevertheless, they do a great job. It was more of a collaboration in that sense. But yes, major tokens that are arising. Also, if the community wants and requests something, they can push it through it. We have been studying, of course, also smaller value adjusted, but the problem is that those brings more risks. Nevertheless, like the community demonstrated with Pepe, that Algorand is fantastic for the trading, right, and the bridging, but it is not that easy in terms of risks. So as you are aware, we are always very careful with that. And I think if Fox is successful, is also because we are taking these measures and steps to be more on the safe side than the risk side. So I think we will keep doing this way in terms of bridged asset, but we haven't planned any new upcoming listing, but it is not something very, very difficult. We just, again, look at CoinMarketCap and when also planning the distribution of the rewards, then we think, okay, we may work with Pact Forward for this lending pool and see what it can be new.
Gotcha. Makes sense to me. Let's move on to governance a little bit, because the voting for this current period ends on the 14th. It's the 9th at the date of recording this video. It'll probably be posted tomorrow on the 10th. But so there's about 4 to 5 days left for voting in this session, and then maybe a week or two period before the unmint of gALGO begins. I'm curious because xALGO is still a relatively new thing. How is xALGO taken off relative to gALGO?
So we have seen activity. I can't say that it's growing like gALGO. gALGO is keeping growing every time, and that's purely beautiful for me.
I'll be honest, every time I want to get algo, I still swap my algo to gALGO for the better rate. So
everybody does that. Like there were also very good opportunity with xALGO this time. But the idea for xALGO, it was also to expand, not just be on Binance Smart Chain, but also to go on other chain. So we haven't decided for the next round what's going to be, but depend on our timeline with certain developments, we may add another chain. So we are thinking about that. And who is listening, if you wish any particular chain, you can push it through the forum. But when we do those things, we also talks with DEXs on the other chain in order to have partnership. Because for us, xALGO is also, let's say, a way to bring the goodness of Algorand in other chain. Because, for example, with PancakeSwap, which is of course a huge DEX, and they have tons of users. I mean, bringing visibility on Algo there, it was a great move for Algorand itself, right? So for us, if we want to do that, we don't do it just for the purpose of doing. It's like we plan in a way that is strategic and beneficial for us and for the ecosystem as well. So we want to do, again, it depends on our developers' roadmap. Like we don't want, I hate to give them too much pressures on timelines. Also, it's like next 3 weeks. So it's not something that carries a lot of work, but still I give them freedom of saying, yes, we are busy. No, we are not. We can do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I want to pick your brain a little bit, because I'm curious if there's anything that Folks Finance is working on that hasn't been made too public yet, or maybe has just recently been made public, that you want to bring to the attention of the audience, because Folks Finance does kind of seem to be constantly pumping out different innovation here and there, as we've talked about throughout this episode. But I'm curious, what's next for Folks Finance? Like, where does it go from here throughout the next bull market?
Yeah, so I mean, we have made this slightly public, but I can detail a bit on top of it. So we're using a wormhole and ChainLink to build ChainLink CCIP, is the cross-chain messaging layer of CCIP, of ChainLink, sorry, that to build a new lending that is going to be cross-chain native. So what does it mean, cross-chain, compared to the standard multi-chain, for those who are not aware? So multi-chain, basically, let's take, for example, Aave. It means mirroring your protocol, and it's hugely used in the EVM space because you can just copy and paste, so fork your code in different chain. So it's basically having the same protocol, but twin in every chain that you are going to integrating. And that's very inefficient because, first of all, the liquidity is being fragmented. Like you cannot connect the liquidity which is on a lending market on Ethereum and one that is on Avalanche. They can be connected, but you need all the bridging process. So if you have a loan on Ethereum, you have to close it, bridge the asset, and open it on Avalanche. Of course, this is not smooth. And another main project, the main problem. Okay, we said the liquidity, but also we said that we need to bridge it. So it's the user experience. The bridging part, it's not something that will help DeFi to scale towards being easy to use. So if by using messaging layer, you can create apps that are built on multiple chains, but they are interoperable in each other for without even knowing it. So basically, how Forex is going to work in the next version is that we will have multiple chains supported, but the liquidity that is on the different chain can be accessed from any site. So the liquidity is concentrated compared to fragmented liquidity. And as well, the way of managing the assets and the operation will be abstracted from the chain that you are using. So will be on an account level. So you have one account that manages multiple addresses on different chains, and you are being to operate on a protocol without worrying about which chain you are using, without worrying where those assets are coming from. All of the technology part of the network selection, the gas fees, as much as possible, is going to be abstracted. So the end users need just to connect with their most favorite wallet, use the assets they want, perform the operation they want. That's it. No need to worry about gas fees, and no need to worry about where the assets are coming from. I don't need to bridge. Everything is being done smoothly on the back end, and the end user don't see it.
That sounds pretty huge, honestly. That's really exciting. Is there any, of course, this is more than likely a big project, but what would you think your timeline would be for something to that extent?
So we already started the audit. We are going to have testnet in Q1 and mainnet in Q2.
Wow, that's awesome. That is great to hear. That's great to hear. So I guess
we need to think like I want to expand. So
sure,
this
please.
part will apply on the lending protocol, of course. So it is called hub and spoke model. So we have a hub, which is like, let's say, the brain of the protocol. Right. And then the spokes are all those chains where you can connect and talk to the hub without bridging. And so we will do similarly as we did on Algorand, right? We built the lending. And then we had done new features that can be interoperable with the lending or not. So imagine liquid staking, gALGO, and the leverage liquid governance, right? We will do the same on the new version. So we'll be a cross-chain DeFi hub for nature. We also already strengthened a partnership with one of the major cross-chain DEXs, swap. So it's a cross-chain aggregator of DEXs, which basically allow you to swap any asset on any chain. And that's very beautiful, because I believe that is like bringing the utility and the ease of use of a centralized exchange, but all with smart contracts. So I'm really bullish on that, because if DeFi didn't pick much users so far, it is also because it's difficult to use. Right. Because we all understand the value of it, right? It's not that difficult to see that major exchanger failed over time and a lot of people lost their money. With DeFi, everything is transparent, but it is very difficult to use, and we are not going to get the mass adoption if we keep DeFi difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really great to hear. And I'm curious, you mentioned trading, and this is just something I noticed when I was looking at the Folks Finance platform not too long ago. So Folks Finance has a tool called UltraSwap, but it does seem like this functionality is restricted at least to the US IPs currently. Could you speak a little bit to what UltraSwap is, and then maybe what are the regulations that are might be worrying Folks Finance there?
So UltraSwap, it's an easy way of doing something that a lot of our users were doing it manually. So let's do another example before getting there.
Sure.
We have seen with the lending market that a lot of people during governance, they were minting gALGO, use gALGO as collateral to borrow ALGO and mint more gALGO. So what we did, we built the leverage governance in order to help them to do that. So very similarly, traders use the lending market in order to, let's say, go short and long on different assets.
Right.
So based on if you are collateralizing USDC or an altcoin and borrowing USDC to buy more. Let's do a practical example. Let's say I have USDC and I'm using it as a collateral to buy algo. Then I sell the algo to buy more USDC, more collateral, and borrow more algo, right? So I'm going on an edge on the algo price, right? Because I want to do some trading up or down. Then depends where you put the collateral and what you buy. So there were many users doing that. So we thought, okay, why don't we simplify it the same way that we did with the Algorand Governance? And that is UltraSwap. So of course, for UltraSwap, you need also a price chart. So that's why we integrated the trading view. We also thought, okay, most traders compare always their assets with USDC. So that's why we fixed the pairing with USDC. So you have up, down that allows you to leverage your collateral in order to be more exposed with a multiplier to the asset you want. And then you have convert, which is simply swap the asset into USDC or vice versa. So that is basically the idea of UltraSwap. We're looking to expand it. We would love to have there not just USDC, but also maybe newer stablecoin, maybe have also the leverage on Euro versus USDC. That's just the base, right? But that's beautiful for me because it shows how much smart contract and composability are helpful towards building advanced feature. Because for UltraSwap, we basically didn't build any new contracts. We just used the existing contracts and composed the transaction in order to build the operation for the user to be one click. So someone even said to me, the UltraSwap is way too easy to use because, of course, it's dangerous tool because if you don't understand how much is risky to use it and there are price fluctuation, you can easily lose your collateral. Of course, you could, let's say, if you have used the app in certain assets in the last weeks, you could have made a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying that leverage is risky. I mean, there's sometimes a reward to that risk, and sometimes there's the opposite of that as well. So anybody that wants to use any of these leverage products, of course, do so, with a little bit of education in mind too, because of course these products are can be used fantastically and be a great tool in your journey in crypto, and they can also be an enemy to you if you don't know what you're doing. So definitely check those out. And yeah, so let's move on just a little bit more, and I want to get your opinion more broadly on crypto just at large, because as we mentioned at the top of this, the sentiment has changed quickly. It does seem like Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market are moving up on the hopes that there will be a Bitcoin ETF approval, at least in the United States, over the next handful of months. We're waiting and seeing if that will actually be the case, or if we're, going to get that pushed back down for the next year or so as well. We'll see about that. But what are your takes on the market more broadly? Are we back in a bull market? Is this something that you don't even want to speculate? What are your thoughts?
I think in general, not just looking at the price action, the sentiment is very good. Mm-hmm. New builders, new venture capitals going in, new opportunities for regulation towards cryptos, like the approval of the ETF. So things are moving, and they're moving on a very different way than the previous cycles, right? I also very much believe that in the next cycle, for example, who is approaching now to crypto and may heard about Airdrops and is going to try all of these DeFi apps that are on different ecosystem to get a chance to have an airdrop. It's finding an ecosystem of tools. Like let's imagine in the previous round, we didn't have so much built around, and we didn't have this ease of use. Now it's much better. So I believe that the narrative is very different, because who is approaching now crypto will understand kinda in an easier way how powerful it is. I can use a lending protocol on DeFi and no one can tell me no. Right, like I can go on Fox Finance, see, well, wow, in this platform there is gold and silver even, right? It's not the same as before. I hope that is going to be a growth that is not going to be too sharp, that's too fast, because I'm not a supporter of sharp growth, because those are risky. And in most of the case, when this happen, the FOMO creates a lot of opportunity for scammers. So indeed, the growth that goes smoother, it makes more time to do education, to build serious things. Like one thing that I don't like about bull runs, and even now, like it is already creating a bit of FOMO towards builder. We need to do the token, we need to launch because there is everybody's looking for airdrops. Yes, this is already happening. I never liked this sentiment because it brings to mistakes. I believe that also Terra Luna was the greatest example of that. So what can you do? It's the market. It's like you have to get it for what it is. But it's one of my wish, like compared to the previous one, to have things more built in a reliable way.
Yeah, it's more sustainable that way. And it's interesting you say that, because it seems like there's a double-edged sword of the market regardless of the way it's going. So if we're in a bear market, of course, the double edges of that sword would be prices are going down, projects are losing runway because, especially if they have any bit of their treasury in cryptocurrencies that are losing their value, so their runway is going shorter, there's less investment, so it's harder to get investment into your projects, but there's also less of a rush to get these projects out there and get this next innovation out there. So you can, as you mentioned, you can take your time, you can make sure you can perfect it, where in the bull market, although things increase, like the price, your runway might increase, there might be more appeal for investment from VCs, but there's that mindset of there's a rushed mentality because everyone wants to get their project out there. Then people aren't double and triple checking their things. They're putting out subpar projects and innovations because the market is demanding it and they feel rushed and pressured. So it's actually really interesting you say that. I never really put into consideration the double-edged sword of the market.
But I think, for example, Fox is it's perfectly fit to describe that, right? During these years of bear market, we never stopped building, right? Like we focused so much on the product that you see, like there is few days of good spikes in the price, and it's Fox TVL is growing very quickly, right? Like we have been preparing for that, right? It's not that we're born in a bull market and everything went smoothly since then. Like if you are able to survive the bear market, even like I think Fox was growing constantly in the bear market. If we think about the amount of algo in deposited, then it demonstrates the reliability of a protocol. So in an ideal scenario, like I think like the bear markets are useful in order to, let's say, clean the dust, to not have things that are not useful, that are dangerous. And in the bull market would be for me more, let's say, the time that those projects can collect the results of their harvesting, let's say, with the new users going in. Also, imagine like if a new user comes in and finds something like Fox, where you have the academy, you have good documentation, you have a lot of material, you have a team that is always ready to answer. If it comes there, and that's the first thing, let's say during the bull market, and that's the first impression of DeFi, maybe it's not going to even to go to centralized exchanges, right? He may stay there. But indeed, if you go in a project without doing a name, and we have seen in the past even on Algorand, where the documentation is copy and paste of another protocol, the team is not reliable, not answering, then people can get hurt and they will never go back to DeFi, and crypto might be the same, right? So that's for me how the philosophy of this industry should be.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Folks Finance has always done a great job, I believe, in trying to educate users and onboard new users and have those educational tools available, because sometimes it can be cumbersome, especially if maybe you've never used DeFi before and Algorand's their first DeFi experience. Some of these applications can be a little cumbersome, and even if they're not, it's just the fact of knowing that if you mess up, maybe it could be a permanent mess up, that the education really goes a long way with helping to soothe those fears that people might be having, that they're doing it wrong and they don't want to lose everything of permanence. But actually, I want to expand on that a little bit, because as I said, Folks Finance has the Folks Finance Academy. They're doing a great job educating users, but Algorand seemed to just take a step in that direction as well with their recent partnership with the United Nations Development Program. and creating a blockchain academy for their 22,000 employees over there, non-government organizations around the world, as well as other governmental agencies as well. What do you think of this development? Do you think this is the right long game approach to continue to educate NGOs across the world and government organizations on the power of blockchain and Algorand specifically?
So I've been at the Algorand Impact Summit as well. So I was listening and seeing with my eyes all of those developments. And I actually was very happy about seeing those type of strategies from the Algorand Foundation. Now I've been listening also to, let's say, private conversations. So I don't know how much I can share. I don't want to spoil anything that maybe can be said. But I believe that betting and investing resources towards those, let's say, implementation, even the Algo Barath, it can pay very well. I think that that is a good strategy from Algorand Foundation, because Algorand is fit for purpose towards those things, right? We always have been saying, like, Algorand comes from Silvio, which is let's say the most well-reputed person into blockchain, right? Like, he's the inventor of so many of theories that are behind those technologies and well knowledge around the world. So Algorand has been there always towards this mission. So it is actually happening something now. It's very interesting to see the development of those. I don't know whether they will pay, let's say, in the price action, for example. But if we imagine of those as a bricks that builds a wall, like while the expansion goes up, it's enough one of those implementation, let's say, as a pay to takes very quickly in a developing market, and the technology was to be used by millions of people. And towards the UN, like, this is also in the same direction, right? So betting on improving society in certain countries that they really need these improvements. Just we need to think something here. In the Western world, US, Europe, we think as a crypto as an investment, right? We think it's something that we believe in the technology. This is going to pump. It's going to make 10x in my investment. Let's be honest, right? Like, it's not changing our daily life that much. But there are countries that we can't even imagine that could benefit of the technology on a much higher level. Like, there are countries where you cannot open a bank account easily at all. There are countries where their fiat is super volatile, so you don't want to store your assets into cash, or you're not even in the bank. So you would love to convert it into a stable coin of the dollar. So all of those are use cases that are life-changing for certain people, not for us probably. So Algorand is a lot focused towards those type of application, and they believe that, first of all, it's good for the world. Let's say it's a good human impact, but for the technology itself, it's the right way, I believe.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I do think you're absolutely right that in the Western world, at least from the financial aspects of blockchain, it can better our lives, it can improve our lives, but it's not as much of a game changer as it could be for countries where, the value of their dollar, people like to poke fun at the dollar in the United States, saying it lost 92% of the value over, an 80-year period, a 90, 100-year period. What about the countries where that's happening in a month or 2 months or something like that? It's a drastically different story in that sense. But this is
there are countries where even let's say sending money from external countries is so difficult. It may take weeks, months, or not even possible. And with blockchain, you are able to send money anywhere in seconds if you're using Algorand. So,
I mean, even for money remittances, I used to work in a restaurant back when I was, maybe 22, 23, and I worked with a Brazilian cook who was fantastic. He was a great guy, and he would work maybe 60 hours a week between 2 different restaurants and send maybe about 80% of his paycheck, basically everything he could, back to his family in Brazil. And he was paying like 15% fees on Western Union to send that money out there. So it's like, it's one of those things where it would take like a week or two for the money to even get out there. It would be 15% less than what it could have been. So even in just a scenario like that, it could have a drastic difference on somebody's life.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. So you mentioned it. I didn't necessarily want to bring it up and feel any like pressure, but you did bring up the possibility of a token. We quickly mentioned it. Is there any Folks Finance token in the way? Will there be an airdrop? I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Oh my God, that's the $100 million question. So we are studying that. Let's say as now there will be a token that's, let's put it there. The way it is going to be launched is being studied right now. So it's in the red zone. It's not that now it's just there will be. It's now it is being planned. And that's everything that we do, JT. We don't do something just for the purpose of doing it.
Oh, of course.
If there will be Folks token will be useful. And our target is that people will want to keep it, not sell it.
Right.
So it must be something that for our users to use it as well. So that's why we also take time, because imagine the largest part of DeFi apps, they launch the token before even launching their app. Folks did totally the contrary. We have been always different from the inception. And when there will be the token launch, we make sure that it's going to be without mistakes. At least we will try our best.
Right. I mean, we're all only human, but yeah, one of the things I've always appreciated Folks Finance for and criticized some other applications for is the speed in which they launch a token. I mean, Folks Finance is clearly, in my opinion, doing it the right way, where you have been in the space for quite some time now, still don't have a token out there, where other projects seem to rush their tokens because it's a way to generate revenue. But Folks Finance is really solidifying itself as a solid first-class platform and gaining the trust of its users before it moves on to that next step. So I definitely commend you for that. And Benedetto, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day today to join us on our show. We'll be keeping an eye peeled for all of the updates, including that upcoming token and airdrop information that I know everyone wants to know about. But if there's anything else that you want to share with my audience before you take off today, feel free.
No, not really right now. I think we touched most of the hot things going on right now on Folks. But to the community, the audience that is listening, please, anything you would like to see, any assets you would like to be listed, please message us in the forum or on our channel. We are always happy to listen. And JT, we love your community. From the very beginning, we have been always working together towards, even when the V1 was difficult to use, you were like our master of teaching people on how to use Folks. So we have been growing all together here. I always say that the success of Folks is not only ours, it's of everyone of the community that brought us to be here, really.
Absolutely. It takes a village. Well, Benedetto, we'll be keeping our eyes peeled. Feel free to come back on next time Folks Finance has anything interesting to discuss. And yeah, we really appreciate your time today. All right, that was my conversation with Benedetto Biondi, the CEO of Folks Finance. If you enjoyed the conversation, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you are notified every time we post a video. To support the podcast even further, check out the video description down below for links to my Substack, where you can find weekly news content for the crypto market more broadly and Algorand weekly news content, as well as a new weekly lesson plan that teaches you how to do technical analysis. The lesson 1 is already posted and teaches you everything you need to know on how to read the candlestick charts. Lesson 2 is coming out soon, so check out the video description down below for a link to the Substack. And also, find me on Rumble, where all the long-form interviews will be posted. On that note, we appreciate all of you that watch to the end of these videos. Share this video with a friend, comment down below with your favorite thoughts, what you think of the Folks Finance platform, and we will catch you in the next episode. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen.